Good morning or afternoon. Hopefully it's morning. I'm thinking that I'm going to try to post this first thing. Seems to get received better that way. This is dessert dish number 3. And if you are a dessert dish, then you've already watched the other 2 most likely. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if this is the first time you've seen one of my videos, still, there's no accident. You were drawn here for a reason. There's something here for you, even if it's just to say this isn't for me. It's a process, everything is. So if you've never seen 1 and 2, I highly suggest you can go ahead and watch this one if it intrigues you, gets your brain thinking, whatever. Go back and watch number 1 and number 2. Now, number 1 is not labeled. It doesn't say 1. It just says dessert dishes, and it says something about does your heart drag you all over the place. The second and the third are labeled with a 2 and a 3 with the same dessert dish image on the front, and I'm going to keep that the same to make it easy for everyone. So if that's you, then great. I'm glad you're here. But this is mostly for the dessert dishes that have already discovered themselves. And this is number 3. The title of this one is Your Superpower and Your Mission. I made a little post in my server on Discord about how this time that we've entered into, the game is on. It is time for us to learn about who we are. And if you fall into this category and you resonate with the story that I read in the first video and you know this place and it just completely says to you, yes, this is Father speaking to me, then this video is talking about the superpowers and your mission. The first part is my part, my input, helping you to understand this superpower. I only come into a very certain understanding of it myself. And I'm going to just go through my scenario. Now, mind you, your scenario may be very different. There may be variations in there that fit you and don't fit me. But there should be like a common thread in the way you process through things. And even if there isn't, it's up to you. This is your journey. It totally doesn't matter what that is. If it resonates with you, it does. So I'm just going to start with a couple of little notes that I made here. Okay, let's go through what the scenario looks like for me. This is what I have experienced in this cycle that I go through repeatedly. In everything I do, pretty much. Even in just a few moments or in years, these processes happen. It's like this circular thing that takes place. Your heart leads you to something. You're very, very drawn. It feels wonderful. It feels right. You get struck with it. Whatever it is, if it's some type of an event, or it could be some type of an expression, it could be some type of, it could be a home that you're going to buy. It can apply itself to anything. Mostly what I've written about is interpersonal relationships. And once again, those can be anything, child, mother, love, romantic, friend. But mostly this involves relationships because the real reason that we've been gifted the way that we have is for the other souls on this planet, the other sparks of Father. Okay, so the duration, does it say duration? Yeah. Okay, the duration of the draw varies, okay, the time frame. I've been involved in processes where my heart quickened me to just chase after something, and if you're a dessert dish, you can't deny that. It will draw you. If you can go against it, but it literally makes you ill. You literally are so miserable and unhappy that you're eventually doing something else that your heart draws you to, and you end up right back in the same spot anyway. So as dessert dishes, that's a really good point. Follow your heart. Trust it. I actually had a message from some significant beings, let's just put it that way, and maybe I'll give you more details when we have our meeting that I discussed. And if you don't know what that's about, then you're not supposed to know about it. But if you do know what it's about, I've already shared the information with you. I might discuss that in a little more detail just because we'll have more of an intimate setting and won't be quite so public. But let's put it this way. I was told very clearly from some very, very important beings that I need to trust this thing in me, 100%. Trust it, trust Father, and trust the process without fail, no matter what it looks like, okay? So this duration can vary, and it can be a few moments, like within just an hour or something where this happens and it comes to fruition, or it can be years, which I have experienced both, and in between all of those, the time duration is varied. And then as you're going through this process and you're being drawn to this scenario, you get the warnings that pop up in your heart. They can come up in so many different ways. For me, it's usually a pain, like a blow to my tender, vulnerable part. somebody will say something or do something or behave in a way, or a circumstance will come along outside of what I am expecting with this gregarious, big, huge heart that is such a big, playful, wonderful dreamer, and it doesn't fit inside of that dream that I had in mind for this heart draw. And it's just a little ping, and you feel it. For me, usually what I do is I deal with it right then and there, because it's like, oh, that wasn't there before. Something must be wrong. This is supposed to be beautiful. And then it's usually, I'm just referring to interpersonal relationships, not all the other scenarios it can apply to, but just remember it can apply to anything. I usually go to the person that's involved in it, and I sit down and I say, we have to talk about this. And we walk through this process where we discover some things, and I see some truths, and my heart settles down, and everything seems to be good for a while. Well, the pings come back, only with a little more intensity and more, more numbers to them. Like, it'll happen twice and a third time. And the second time, you're just like, we've already dealt with this. It's just me overreacting. And then the third time comes, and the weight in your chest becomes so heavy that you have no choice but to respond to it. So you once again go to the source of this pain that you have. In this scenario, once again, duration varies every time. But this scenario will keep going until it's intolerable, until you can no longer take this pressure that keeps consuming your heart because too many things are off, too many things are wrong, and you've addressed and addressed and addressed. In this process, you probably give a lot. You probably provide all the information for the other person that you can think of possibly to assist them, because you can see very clearly the places where they're being held up spiritually and emotionally that are causing these trip-ups. You can see it. You are an empath. You feel it, you see it, you sense it. It's like a motion picture of facts inside of your heart. So you probably spend a whole lot of time trying to get this individual to see these things because you want to assist them. This is one thing about the dessert dish. They always want to assist the other person in their spiritual growth. We're driven to do that. And we go to great pains to ourselves to do it. We stick in relationships and situations for years that are actually detrimental to us, trying so hard to negate that thing that's in our heart, trying to fix it, trying to help them. Inevitably, what ends up usually happening is what I call the train wreck. And I did mentioned this in a couple of my other videos. The train wreck is what occurs. Okay, so I've got my little notes here. Your heart breaks. You don't understand because this was not what your heart leads you to do. Your heart is so amazing. It always tells the truth. It can pick up on the most incredible things, and other people miss them. So you're confused and hurt, and you just think, I just must be completely insane and a complete disaster. And you go through this mourning process. I'll give you an example of my last train wreck, and it lasted for 11 years. It was one of those with a long duration. And I went into it as I always did, went through the processes, got the pings. Well, instead of having that leaving that intolerable place there, in this circumstance, I just shut everything down, which is death for you and I. That doesn't work. And literally spent 8 years, I mean physically dying. I went from being myself that you see right now, very close to it anyway. Not quite as good though, because I've improved a lot in the last few years thanks to Global Witness and the truth and this ascension and everything, but very close. I went from that person to someone who was significantly overweight, unhealthy, diagnosed with a few very deadly diseases, and my heart was dying and my body was going along with it because I just turned it all off and pretended to not be the being that I am. But this superpower, dessert dishes, it cannot be stumped out. It cannot be covered. It will unveil itself, even if it is through disease and whatever it can to get your attention. And then what we end up doing is we usually end up getting to a place, once again, where it's intolerable. I just felt like I was going to die, and I cried out to Father and said, Father, I'm not sure what's happening. I'd shut down so hard I couldn't even see anymore. But I knew that he had the answers for me, and I threw myself at his feet. What do I do? Please help me. And in the moment, nothing miraculously happened. But over time, duration again, and Father right now shows up like bam, bam, bam for me, literally, boom. In the process of the last decade or so, it wasn't quite so fast. And in the years before that, my entire life, sometimes it was just forever, years and years. you see something and you have a revelation. Something gets brought to your eyes and you start down this crumb road where you're picking up the crumbs, and then you have revelations and you start to see. And you get through this process and you get to the end of it through this refining fire, and you're shining like gold, and you can see the reason it happened. It's beautiful and wonderful. You see your train wreck in a whole different light, and you totally realize that it was all meant to be. And if you hadn't followed your wild, crazy heart in the first place, none of these incredible things that happened in that train wreck process would have ever happened. This is significantly important for you dessert dishes to understand. The train wreck is the process. Don't be afraid of it. Don't negate it. Let it be what it is, because through that process is where Father's going to use that very, very special heart that he put in you to cause things to happen for the family of light that only you can make happen. And I mean that specifically you. I'm looking into the camera and you know who you are. That just hit you like a brick. You have a specific dessert dish gifting. How many desserts are there? How many dishes can we, come up with to put beautiful, elegant desserts in? Many. They're all dessert dishes. They all serve the same purpose. They're at the end of the meal. They're the celebrated part of the table, and they are elegant and made for a specific, beautiful purpose. But yours is specific. That leads me in to my next section of this video, your mission. Now, this is the part where I want to encourage you, and I want to support you, and I want to be there for you to help you discover that, because that's the part I can do nothing about. Because your mission is specific to you. Once again, it's yours, and it's different than mine and any other dessert dish. Now, some of us might have a camaraderie where we kind of see the same thing, like Mario and I. By the way, he is totally a dessert dish. That's why we opened the server together, because he's specifically a dessert dish. And, of course, that's no accident. He's the other half of who I am. So he's just like me, only in the opposite some ways and exactly the same in other ways. We're a perfect puzzle piece fit. So each one of you have your own mission. And that's where we're at right now, is starting to, get to the point where we learn who we are. And I'm going to go into much more detail when we meet together. I will be divulging very, very personal things about this scenario that others don't understand. I mean, you know the story. The other table pieces, they don't understand this. This is going to be a specific discussion for us who understand it, because there will be no judgment. There won't be any wagging fingers and who do you think you are and why do you think you're special. We are no more value than any other table implement, any one of other Father's creations, but we're different. We know this. We've known it our whole lives. So your mission, that is something that I'm not going to go into great detail here right now, but I want you to think about it. I want you to ponder it. I want you to put it in your heart and put that, in the place where you're going to be starting to throw your intentions at it so that it'll come to pass. Many of you already know. You already know. Maybe what you need to know is to understand your dessert dish process so that you don't negate it and you're not afraid of it and you don't think it's horrible. Because believe it or not, there isn't one process you've gone through your whole life, if you look back in hindsight, that was what you thought it was. It all worked out. You're here. It all led you to the place where Father precisely had you in this moment. And believe me, I can't implore to you enough. If you're hearing this and this resonates with you, this is a very, very important appointment. And you've arrived, and you will continue to arrive, and your mission will be successful. And one day we will be together. And Mario and I have already discussed it. We're going to create our own planet. We're going to set it up for a huge vacation party. And we're all going to hang out together. And we're going to just have a great time for, a few eons until we're ready to get back to another mission and go to work. Because we're going to deserve it. We're going to need it. But this mission will be completed. We will succeed. We're going to succeed together. And that's why Father's put all this into place. This is my mission, part of it. I have another section to myself that's completely different than this, but it's a bigger, different purpose. It has more weight to it. But this is definitely part of it. The big part of it, in a smaller size, but not less important, not less valuable. It's just a different size. Is to get my voice out there and find the sheep that hear it. because those are the ones that Father is calling. He's saying, come to me so that I can show you my beautiful, beloved dessert dishes, how to dance around the edge of the table without falling to the floor. And even if you do, that's okay too, because some of you must. I'll catch you and I'll put you back up on the table. And if you do, in fact, get any cracks, I'll seal them back together with the purest and most beautiful gold. And then you will become the most unique dessert dish there's ever been, because no one will ever look like you, because you have these beautiful, repaired, broken parts that are Father's gold in you. He's got this all figured out, and we're being drawn together now because this is the time. We know this. We've been listening to Derek speak about that, about all of our brothers and sisters, everything where this going. We know this is time. So it's time for us to get together, get this figured out, and get on mission. So let's see, 14 minutes, that's good. That's about where I like to keep it. I don't like it to be much more than that. So I would like to say that I love you all so much. I'm so honored. I just went through one of these scenarios. It was, I think it was three days total. It was a 3-day duration, and it was the most brutal, excruciating, unexpected dessert dish train wreck process that I've ever been involved with. It was very short, but it cut me in such a way that there were moments in the darkness of the night when I was dealing with it that I didn't know if I'd get past it. Seriously. It was that deep of a attack. But man, then I'm coming to you today because I finally walked through that fire entirely and walked to the other side. And I'm telling you, my sweethearts, the gold that shines when you come through these in this end game that we're in, it's beyond compare. Yes, the pain is excruciating. Yes, it's the worst ever, but the gold that's coming afterwards, I'm just beginning to feel that there won't be much left to burnish off. Very soon we're all going to just be solid, shining gold in Father's handiwork and ready to go. It's also a little bit of a picture, which we are pictures, we're motion pictures for the rest of the world to play this out so that we can show them of what's going to happen in this end game. We get to live it as we go through these processes, because we're going to actually be intact and already there where we're going to be leading people to, so that they can come through this process and understand, just like Derek says, even though it's horrible in its aspects, it is also beautiful, because coming through it, the beauty, you will see it. I promise you, you will. And we're going to be the ones who lead the way to show the others, look what you are going to come through. What's going to happen on the other side? Let me show you. That's part of being a dessert dish as well. So I love you, and I'm super excited about this next chapter. I knew it would be coming. I just didn't know when, and I was released today. Today is 4/4/3333. In the date. So I did make the video today. I don't think I'm going to post it until tomorrow morning, but I knew it was significant that it was made today. So there it is. I love you so much, and we are going to go on a journey, and it's going to be amazing. There's just a handful of us, which is totally fine, because I knew it would never be a big number. And then as we go along, each one of you on your mission are going to reach others, and you're going to find them, and they're going to hear your voice. And all of us that are a part of this crew will be found and reunited together, and then watch out, because it's going to be epic and surreal, which is what those words were made for. I love you, family. Bless you. Father's love and peace and joy I give to you in the amount that I have. Once again, I've packed it down, crammed it in, asked Father to multiply, fill it to the top, and I'm sending back out to you. And I want you to do the same thing that I just said to do. And then you send it back out, and I'll get some of that, and I'll do the same, and we'll just keep doing this. The next thing you know, Gaia is going to be covered with a net of love that can be, it's unstoppable and bulletproof. I love you. Have a fantastic day, and we will be talking soon.